Okay, so a bit of a quick case study, recognising we've got so many different stages or scales of organisation as well. And it's all about people today. We've got now teams in all these different countries, and so I think there were questions there about how do you retain organisational knowledge, how do you bring people through, how do you ensure quality control as you're growing from your small core team of 2 or 3 into more and more people you're delegating, and so on. It's all sorts of challenges going on. Lots of different techniques that we've been using over time, but these are all of our teams around the world, I should say. Just to kind of ground us in, and it's not just about words on screen, there are people behind this, and that's where it gets really difficult, isn't it? You know, managing people is the hardest thing. This is our team in Scotland, which has just grown exponentially over the last few years. And so some of these smiling faces, some of them are finance heads and very diligent about all the numbers, some of them are entrepreneurial buzz dev types, and so we're all managing all these complex skills, and I really am keen on the idea that we don't know what we don't know until we need to know it. And when you're suddenly managing all these different people, you weren't trained for that, and you've got challenges that are coming at you that are keeping you awake at night, and that's common for all of us at every stage. So please don't beat yourselves up. It's one of those key things that we've learned. This is our challenge at the minute. So all these dots, this is just one country example from Scotland. So we don't just run, let's say, a program in the space. We run something like 150 programs a year in communities all over the place to serve those local needs. And so those are facilitated by that broader associate network. So managing that growth of a network of people who aren't your employees, you don't see them every day. You have to keep creating opportunities for them to engage with your organisation and build their skill set, build their awareness, build their knowledge of how you want them to operate. So we've had to build CPD, investment in their time with us together as a group over time, ensuring that quality standards sharing. Writing stuff down, getting the contracts in place, contracting, agreements, all of those underpinning documents are part of that retention of some of the knowledge base of how you manage this stuff. And managing all those different personalities, forget the contracts, there's all that relationship stuff. And again, once you've got a person with a relationship with a network, that's a huge value in that person. So if that person goes, you've lost those relationships as well. So huge issue. And so for us, team stability has been a really key thing to focus on. And we're really proud that we've got very low turnover because we've really attended to that. And that's this lot. So that focus on the staff team, that core, and really trying to make sure that the quality of experience they have as staff has been really key for us at all levels, and building the staff teams out. And I'll show you a little bit more. And then board and governance side as well, not forgetting them in this mix, that they're part of the team. And so who's managing that, as part of the dynamic? And what are they doing in terms of the different things they bring to the situation? So some considerations, but it will change.
Sorry, what are some of the numbers for staff versus associates?
That's a good question. Perfect timing. See if you do the next one as well. So this over time is a look at what's happened to us. So for some of you guys, so this sort of experience here will be relevant, and then for others, this sort of experience will be relevant, and then this has been just this last few years of our journey. So our staff numbers, this is staff dynamics. So when we started up, the startup phase, typical business development cycle, startup and product development, shift into sales and marketing development, market development, really boosting, and then from about 2012 into replication and some serious diversification as well. And so each of those sort of phases of growth has needed a different organizational structure. So we started off with very much function, you're covering that, but also a lot of, like you were describing, lots across, everybody's doing all sorts, into more of a divisional structure, starting to have people serving in that area, and you're doing that area, and you're doing that region. Different challenge, geography, and then a matrix where you've got functions and divisions going across each other. And so scaling those different numbers, this is the staff team again. So full-time equivalents, the blend of part-time. You're suddenly winning contracts and you can bring on a whole load more. So you've got these step change moments where you have to just reevaluate, and it is a constant reevaluation. Have we got enough for our current situation? But the dynamic with the associates is we've always had something like That's 75 to 25, 75% associates, 25% staff. That sort of dynamic, just to really spread that impact. So anyway, so those are some of the different contexts. And this, again, is what our organisation looks like around now. And this is only this sort of Scotland picture. So just to sort of say, the way you diagram stuff, has anybody seen Apple's organisational structure? It used to have Steve Jobs in the middle, really big, and it was a circle like that, and it had got all these different roles around the outside. It was just this big Steve Jobs in the middle. So that was interesting to see their organisational structure. So when we were designing what we want ours to look like, our top priority is our learners, the entrepreneurs. The associate tutors, that network, they're actually they're the thing that's supporting them. The staff team, this version is focused on the staff team, but we've got different versions that focus on different parts, because communication is key in helping people understand their part of the picture and how they fit. But this one's for the staff, and then they're supported by the board now. So the different roles, we started off very flat structure, which I'm guessing in smaller organisational setups, very flat. And as we've grown, we've had to integrate greater levels of hierarchy. But our chief exec, the tone that person sets is very important. That really open, as most of us are into that sort of stuff. That sense of the team's collaborative leadership, lots of different leadership styles going on. But this is your divisional structures serving Scotland in one place. Chief exec, managers on programs or areas, supported by coordinators, administrative staff, fairly traditional all the way through. This is the matrix bit, so you've got your functions. And I know that if it was a proper matrix, we'd be looking at it that way. But you've got quality, accreditation, communications, that kind of stuff in there. And then that maroon bit, that's the replicable stuff around the side. Replicating this bit, the divisional stuff is replicable. So we've had to build that out, and each bit has caused challenges. So just want to go into sort of theory corner, just say that's some of that journey to scale. But strategy. So 1959, this guy Hertzberg. Has anybody come across Hertzberg before? Yeah. So not many of us have. Some people have, and we all forget it as well. But some of the old stuff is the good stuff. Like we do have very situational change, millennials, different expectations around work. But some of these base stuff are really important. Hygiene factors and the motivators are two key things that we need to remember here. So the hygiene factors, a lot of the stuff that we're on the board before, these are your hygiene factors. These are the things that need constantly topping up. They're the factors for dissatisfaction. Things that go wrong very quickly. People go negative. Your working conditions, your salary, status, your feeling of status, security in the post. Company policies, are they right? Have you got a contract in place? Some people don't even have contracts. Relationships with your supervisors, a relationship with your peers, so relationships at the cultural environment. So those are the stuff that it's maintaining it. You're never going to solve it in one silver bullet. It'll go wrong after another 3 weeks. You suddenly give a pay rise and a promotion, and it's going wrong. This side is the more noble cause stuff, and the reason we all turn up. So looking for deep meaning, fulfillment, achievement, recognition, the work itself we're all trying to do, responsibility, advancement, personal growth. So that, as leaders, we're all trying to boost that team. But so just going back to that, if something's going wrong in your teams, just go back to that and then have a good soak in and all that. Keep remembering that. That's really cool. 1959. Better than that. 1943. I'm sure we've all seen that. 1943. With the addition of Wi-Fi. You didn't know about Wi-Fi. But anyway, so that's new. But yeah, I think we don't need to run through all of this, but a good long soak in some of the old stuff is worth remembering, when you're trying to figure out what's going on, because we often need to remember. And I often, we turn to this with our teams, like program delivery and stuff like that, saying get your space right, all that sort of stuff, it's the fundamentals before you can get to some of this stuff that create the belonging in the team and the culture, attend to people's self-esteem. And let's see where we can go. So applying that to your wherever you're at, whatever stage, really important. And whether you read all that or not, quick tips. get the right people on the bus from the start, and have that picture of a ship or a bus. Who is it we need right now, and are they the right fit for our organisation? And if you read one book, has anybody read Good to Great with Jim Collins? Good to Great. Yeah, go just Google it, get that book. It's fundamental. But yeah, so that just raises some of the other questions. I'll stop talking in just a sec. I'm just going to whiz through a couple of things. Retaining knowledge, as you're growing, it's retaining organisational memory. It's still that constant challenge, and communicating organisational memory as well to those new team members. A value chain. Has anybody articulated their value chain? Really useful exercise to do. Figure out your value chain. Stick the roles and your objectives for each part. I would show you ours, but there's a commercial value to this, I can't. So all my partners would kill me. So I can show you an example of it. But that is a great exercise for doing, and it's revolutionised how our team operates. And again, value-based as well. Making sure if your people are operating on your behalf, are they aware of how your organisation operates? Are you really connected deeply on that sort of level? And there's a bunch of other stuff, but high support, high challenge. I think as you're mentioning burnout and we often expect a lot of our teams. And if we're just expecting a lot without putting in the support, we're going to lose people. And a very last thing, this is a super hot topic at the moment. PricewaterhouseCoopers have just shifted a lot of their leadership development strategy away from doing leadership management into leadership alignment only, because it's the top factor in stuff that's going on. As you're growing and you're collaborating and so on, if your leadership isn't aligned, then the rest of the staff will feel it. And that means board dynamics and all that sort of stuff. And this is a quick kind of diagram. You'll get the slides, but in any given moment, you're either aligned or you're not. So you can kind of diagnose what's going on. You're either splintering and reinventing stuff, and it's not quite right, or people are leaving, or you're completely on mission, everybody's really aligned, buzzing, going for it. And it's a useful tool to say, where are we? And can we just check in on, are we going at the right speed, have we got the right effort, well, have we got the right things? Useful tool.
Thanks so much for that, Sam. I think giving us some tools and talking about the high level stuff is fantastic. Then maybe you can tell us a little bit about some challenges.
Yeah, I think with millennials, if they stay for 2 years, it's brilliant, and it's a real challenge to adapt. We don't get full value for 9 months, and we haven't yet figured out how to cut it down. Some people would say you have a third attrition straight up, no matter how good you are at recruitment. If you're in a very specific and creative environment like we are, that even if you're really good at recruitment, you probably will get in the first 6 to 9 months up to a third going. So once you accept something like that, then maybe you're not failing as much as you think. So that could just be context for starters. And then secondly, you've got to look at their age, where they are in their life cycle and journey and all of those things. So what that then means for us is that we are always continuously recruiting. And so we are always having a cup of coffee with people, and we are always, we're always coaching. That's what people fear, but we're always asking those questions and exploring, and we expect it to be two-way as well. So we think about the people on our team and our associates and people that we train. We have a centred set view. So with the continuous recruitment, it's often a 2-year courtship where you're just having a coffee, you're staying in touch, sending them interesting articles, you're giving them a phone call, you're excited about people that you meet and you exchange cards. And so I'm just obviously not many people are down under where we are, but I think if it's done well and respectfully, it's okay. And certainly if you have a centred set view of the world, so there are a lot of things are bounded sets. Entrepreneurs hate bounded sets. You're either in or you're out. And if you're in, you wear the uniform, you understand the policies and the procedures, and you get a salary. And if you're out, you're out. Centred set is, what are we on about? What is the change we're trying to bring in the world? What are our values? What are our And then how close are people, and are they journeying towards and living or working in a way that is bringing them closer and closer to what we're on about? Could be someone way over here on the other side of the world or doing a completely different business, but actually they're profoundly aligned with us. And you know what? There's a hell of a lot of people I rub shoulders with every day, and if any of them are on our pay, they need to come off because they're not facing towards the heart of what we're about, and you don't worry about the fence. So really obvious example, in Australia, in the outback, you won't see a fence for a hell of a long time, and tourists say, how do you keep all the cattle in or the sheep, because only sheep and goats can survive out there. If you dig a well, they don't go very far. Wherever the water is, that's where they will be. And so, you know, it's really about drawing people to the heart of what you're about. And so then our view would be, sometimes these people are on our payroll, sometimes they're not. Sometimes we invest in a lot of people and they go somewhere else. But you know what? We're all about the same social transformation. So I've just joined TDI, and other people have invested in me for a very long time, and TDI is really winning from that. We've invested in some people at TDI who will go on to really make their mark somewhere else. And I think as long as you've got that big set view, it just gets a little bit easier when you're really gutted, when that great person moves on. So our sort of 9-month way that we think about it, this is really important for cash flow, because one of the reasons you burn people out or scare them off is that high challenge and not enough support early on. But if your cash flow isn't there and you don't have the money, then you're pushing them out because survival is on the line. So in our context, there tends to be, you know, a 3-month processing of recruitment. By the time you're signing a contract with them, that's then when they go and tell their current employer, and it might be 2 weeks to a month or even longer before they come to you. Then we would talk about sort of a 3-month induction, and then we would talk about the next 3 months where we're much more actively coaching. And we use the 70-20-10 framework, which is 10% of a lot of the kind of talking we're doing here this week, giving you new ideas and models, then 20% hands-on in the dirt together coaching. Come with me. We are going to go and do this consultancy over here. What have you heard? How would you design it? Okay, here's how I will design it. What's different? What have you learned? What would you do next time? Okay, you're going to teach this session. You're going to do it for 10 minutes this time. The next time we go doing a consultancy, you'll do half an hour. It's all of that sort of thing, and it's very, very hands-on, very time-intensive for the seniors in the organisation. And then this 20%, then they start to, 70% of their work comes out of that. So they take all day to design a bespoke consultancy intervention that takes me 1 hour, and theirs is halfway there. And that's what it has to be. And depending on how junior they are, and then after that, so 9 months after that, you're starting to be able to put them into the simple bits of work and step back. So every time you recruit, so with this, when I joined TDI, I was very experienced, but not in impact investment. So this is where the CEO and another principal who is very experienced are doing this with me. So even your highly aligned senior roles, you cannot assume that you don't have to do this. If you don't do this, you don't get a culture match. So we actually use some of the tools that you've got, but there's lots of fantastic cultural frameworks out there. Pick one and map your culture to it. Rituals, practices, systems, processes, governance, stories, symbols. Collect all of that, because it takes people ages to figure it out. Oh, it's really important that we make decisions together. I've just spent a year running over the top of everyone. Gee, I wish someone could have told me that. So a cultural framework captures that for you, and you creatively induct people to it here. The next thing, and I'll just make this the last thing that we do, we found what we try and work out is, I really like Kotter from Harvard's definition of leadership and management, and it's all around change. Leaders see change coming and invent the new thing that is ready or on the way to being ready when that change arrives. Sees change, invents the new to embrace the change, loves the change. Management eliminates change. Give me an effective, efficient process that we will do exactly the same, and I will make it better every day, with Lean, with Agile, with Six Sigma, with whatever it is. If you have managers looking at the change coming, they will kill it before it gets over the hill and tell you every reason why the horse and buggy that they are driving right now is the best answer and the car will never make it. Okay? If you have leaders who love looking for change and investing in you, when you actually have to be viable and have, you know, an accelerator that you want to get better at running the core components and you want to multiply and scale and train, this is where so many social enterprises go wrong and entrepreneurs go wrong. When you're scaling, you have to do this. You have to. And you have flippant entrepreneurs who love change every 2 seconds. Handle it. So make sure you've got the right kind of style there and the right person in the right job. So at TDI for Age is our CEO, who is right up here and right up the crazy entrepreneur end, was getting dragged into all kinds of management and facilitation stuff. So for us, another spectrum is some of our best teacher trainers, facilitators in the room are not entrepreneurs. Some of our best entrepreneurs are not great facilitators because they refuse to say the same thing twice.
There's the whole lean revolution in entrepreneurship,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
about learn as you go, pivot
Yes.
every 5 seconds.
Yes.
We don't know where we're going, we'll find
Yes.
out as we get there.
Yes.
And here you're presenting a very methodical approach. It takes 9 months before we can get any value out of someone. I mean,
Yeah.
the two don't seem to be a little bit divergent. How do you tell a startup, it's going to take 9 months before you get any value out of someone? And
Well, I think some of the shortcuts that you can do here around things that they might start as a partner. They might start as a contractor. You might start on smaller quantums as you get to know each other. And others might be able to answer this better. But when we've been employing permanent full-time staff, we've found that this tends to be true. When we've worked out our method down here. So when we've got our culture and our method, say in our accelerators, we've got our core method that we're teaching, and in our impact investment, we've got a core method that's fairly well worked out, so that the level of change is less. So it's getting better at it, but it is actually very hard to genuinely scale until you're down here in terms of the chaotic chaos ride. So when you're up here in the highly agile growth, change, trying to work it out stage, it's fantastic. But I think you'll find you actually want some people who are brilliant at this. Yeah.
Just the clarification there would also be, you're talking about 9 months to get value out of someone in a consulting business, essentially, right? Or an accelerator program, as opposed to what you're talking about, Tom, which is like the scaling of a particular product, where you probably want to be getting value out of someone the moment they hit the ground, because the role's going to be more specific, the work's going to be more procedural.
These are the spectrums that we work with. I think you'll have different ones. I don't think these are it, I just think these are ours, but it's a really interesting conversation. And a really good question to ask is, why do we think that recruitment didn't work? Or why didn't that person fit? And these are the answers that we've come up, that we thought they were more experienced than they were, or we didn't give them enough credit for how experienced they were. They were very strongly down what we call our make money end and didn't actually understand the do good, or they were too much up the do good end because it went down in value and didn't understand the other. So that's what we've just found is really helpful, and we've just got those now to guide us based on failure. So we've grown our picture based on failure. And yeah, we just find that's true all the time.
When we started out, when Paul started out, when we set up Villgro, we were focused very much on rural innovation, so trying to help scale that up. And it was a very small team that was working directly with rural innovators and trying to scale that up. And we worked with in that period, worked with a fairly large number. I think it was Paul plus a couple of people. But in 2007, we did a big pivot where we focused on, we zoomed in on actually working with for-profit entrepreneurs who are building scaled enterprises. And that's when, the work that we're doing today is more closer to that. So this was a little bit of a different phase for us. And we start, it was still a very small team that was trying to set up the incubation, very much in the phase that many of you are today. And a lot of the learnings in this phase actually allowed us to synthesize into a more structured learning, trying to figure out what the model was, from everything that has worked or not worked into what really is adding value to entrepreneurs and creating a structure of a team around that. At any given point in time, we had a portfolio of about 30 to 35 enterprises, and roughly, I think in a team of 20, maybe about 10 people are actually doing the incubation and investment portfolio management and working directly. And this I'm talking about just full-time staff who are in the team. And a couple of years ago, we actually moved to the next phase, which was really incubator and then setting up a fund. And we had the opportunity to move some of our portfolio managers and working with the companies into those roles, which was a good career kind of shift for them, and really the best people they were able to move. And also starting to look at different geographies. So I think what has really happened for us is really not really looking at pyramid type of a structure, which is kind of hierarchical. I think we were talking about how the hierarchy works. And this is how we have. So attrition, you see a lot at the junior levels, right? Your program team. We were talking about the millennial culture. People, I don't think it's not only that, it's really you want to grow quickly and there aren't enough roles that everybody in that team can move to. So this is kind of where we have been, where we are today, where we have the expertise and support to entrepreneurs comes a lot from our mentors and advisors who work closely with the portfolio manager or the incubation manager in many of your cases. And they are led by experienced teams. So the experience of portfolio managers maybe about 4 to 5 years. Sometimes even younger, they're very close to learn. While the people who are, so today we are structured in sort of sector teams that we are focusing on. So agri-health, we have agri-health, education, energy teams. And they are led by an experienced practice lead. And these are people who've actually come from the corporate sector or have kind of an experience and they want to do good. And I think on that scale of, but they come with a relevant experience and they actually are adding a lot of value directly to the companies. And they're supported by the portfolio manager on the day-to-day incubation work. And specifically, and these two we manage with the external. So it's like three people who are actually working with each of our enterprises. So there's a portfolio manager who does a day-to-day, and then the practice lead who actually comes in for the strategic on a regular basis, and a mentor who works very, very closely with the enterprises. So typically mentors would work, we have a guy who would work with the company for at least 1 year, so they bring that expertise, while this is a core team, that kind of skills. Yeah, and I think this practice lead, these experienced people who move to the impact, they are here to stay for a longer time. It's very different from this group of people who keep leaving, right? I think we all share that. Yes.
I just wanted to know. So what's the journey of getting these practices? Is it like from the pool of mentors and advisors, or is it
a question? Yeah. So I think some of them have come from this. Paul, feel free to jump in. I think they've kind of got a peek into what incubation is, what is it working with entrepreneurs, and they really want more. And they've made that switch from, they've said, and they've seen the opportunity to actually continuously work. And I think the mentors, advisors, also people who are kind of at that transitionary phase where they want to give back more. They've they've had certain success in their careers and they want to give back more. That's typically the whole come, and actually almost all of them, right? All of us actually have actually come from the mentor pool because they started working with 1 or 2 companies. They got to know Villgro so much better. They really, felt passionately about the work, and they felt they could add a lot of value. And they joined us for a time, and that is the core team that actually we know that will stay, and they can really shepherd this group of young people who are looking to, get that experience, and probably will move on in 2 or 3 years. So that's really how we have. One of the things that we have done is. We as an organization, we are growing our mission as well. We've come to new geographies, we've set up a fund. So we have a growth path for ourselves. And we want to take the talent, the best talent in that journey with us, right? So as I was saying, we've moved some people to the fund. But of course that's a limited number, but hopefully the best people we are able to convince them to move them to the fund. And the last thing is that, I think we spoke about how everybody's looking for that meaning, that connection to impact. Most people who come to us, they want that connect to impact, right? And there are a couple of things that we have done, really aligning to our value systems when we're looking for people. This is really the values that we are sharing. One of the things that we do is really have an all hands every month. Everybody in the team comes together, and each of our colleagues at Villgro actually recognizes the values that they've seen in a peer, and they kind of give a shout out to that. Another thing that we're doing is that some of our team members don't directly work with the entrepreneurs, so that they may feel a bit distant from the impact. So we organize quarterly visits to our companies to facilitate, keep that inspiration and passion and that fire alive, because that's really important.
How we bring all the alignment together? Because if all the teams, there is it happens that most of the time they don't know what this incubator team is doing with the mentors. So they have to be aligned at what the work that we are doing. It's not that they don't work, they do their own work.
So one practice that we do is we keep the enterprise at the center. So in our monthly reviews, each of the business incubation team members is presenting the progress of each company, the challenges and learnings. And then he's looking at the support people and saying, I want a mentor to that support team member. I want an intern for that company. I want a corporate donor, to actually subsidize some of my activities. So the support teams are actually getting pulled to the center, because you're keeping the company at the center, you're reviewing, and the support teams now have a certain function. So our comms team is being told, here's an award that this company has won, feature it. Or the comms team is asking, which story can I feature? So if you engage and design your monthly reviews in that manner, for that matter your weekly reviews too, it might be possible to achieve greater synergy and collaboration between teams.
Yes.
Just have a follow-up question. So since it's actually difficult to sort of find resources and sort of people who have good understanding about the incubation process and how business model development and whatnot. So since Villgro is actually operating for a pretty long time, what's the organization development strategy? So how do you train the younger people who are coming in? Or how are you sort of integrating the more senior practice leads who are sort of maybe from the corporate sector to sort of become something integral with the Villgro sort of model or strategies?
Sure. So I think I also want to kind of connect up to what Tom was saying, right? How do you get buy-in from young teams that you're trying to recruit? So coming quickly to your question, I think there are a few things that we do. We have very strong onboarding for the young team. So even at the interview stage, we actually get them to talk to other team members, right? So they get a sense of, I think maybe you guys do similar things as well, so that they actually kind of get an understanding of what the work is, even if they don't come from that background. Two is, we've actually improved a lot our onboarding. We've actually put together a lot of resources where we can actually read more, understand the background of companies, understand our work, history of our work. So onboarding has been really key. And I think one of the things that we do is also, because every month we bring the whole team together, even some people who's new can actually hear about everything that's going on in the organization, and that's how they kind of get on board into our work. Anything that you want to add?
And what it's like to work for you. So we have a lot of people returning to us. Like Liv said, you've got to let them go sometimes. They're going to go and work somewhere else. You might lose somebody, but we get people returning and say, actually, it's really great here. And we want to be here. And we enjoy the conditions, we enjoy the people, we enjoy the work actually. And they realise once they've gone somewhere else, they kind of want to come back. So you might have to play with that a wee bit in terms of international loss, but yeah.
And the core of that culture is people need to feel valued, or they believe. And so integrating that, appreciate, I think because we are usually extremely lean teams and we are rushing to do things, we might forget to do that. So appreciating your teams enough. Giving them opportunity to learn. So I think one of the things that because I'm setting up a new team and they don't actually necessarily come with understanding of incubation or social enterprise. So one of the things also to bond is we're actually taking courses together. So we're going to Past Acumen, creating a team and actually doing even like what is social enterprise, for basic things. I don't really need to do that, but I'm doing that with my team. So actually, we have things to discuss around work, but not necessarily, about the activities. And that has been an extremely good team bonding exercise for me. I'm always on the lookout for people who could join us, people who are passionate. So I actually carve out time every week to meet people who are just interested in the sector. They may not actually join me, but I could refer them to another incubator, one of my partners. So I actually keep Friday afternoons free just to meet people who are interested, even though I don't have that much time because we're only a 3-member team. But just to meet people, it could be people who are looking to become entrepreneurs or people who are looking to make a shift into the impact space, looking at opportunities in the space. But to have that regular conversations, I think is really helpful because I may not be able to hire them today. I actually met with someone who comes from a private equity firm and she really wants to move into impact investing. So now, I also, ways I've actually asked her to just volunteer with us for the next year. I definitely can't afford her, but next year I definitely want to hire a CIO and a chief investment officer, and she sounds like a great person. So I'm already kind of engaging her to getting her a peek into what Villgro does and seeing if there is a connect. So you have to be a little bit futuristic by having those conversations. I think, especially in small ecosystems, there are only so many people and there are only so many opportunities. So we really have to be extremely thoughtful about how we approach recruiting the right people. One thing I just want to mention that I forgot was that one of the things that we've done for the salary question is really benchmark against other players in different countries so that we know where we stand and try to at least ensure that we are on par with other players or at least we know what that difference. I think that's going to be really critical in the small ecosystem because that's going to be a key reason why we're going to understanding. Okay, I will pause there. We can continue discussions over lunch. Thank you so much for sharing all of your. You guys, yes.